And so you just leave those pieces of resistance right where they are. You just move on from them. You don't wrestle them to the ground and kill them. You don't try to understand them ad nauseum. You just accept that that was something that I used to think that no longer applies, that my inner being doesn't think, that doesn't serve me to think it, and I don't need to think it anymore, so I'm just moving on. How about that?
Excellent.
So your analogy of driving, we like to talk about how most of you, as you are driving, you're in somewhat of a aligned state of being. There is a certain comfort that you have when you're in your vehicle. You know how to operate it, and you have a sense of being on the road, don't you, usually? And you know about staying in your lane, and you know about not trying to occupy the same space as another vehicle at the same time, and so forth. And sometimes there are those rumble strips on the side of the road, and whether it is day or night, when you get on them because you're not really focused or whatever, or maybe someone has crowded you, but when you feel that rumble strip, you know that you are approaching the edge of your lane, and you intuitively know what to do about it. In other words, you don't have to come to an Abraham seminar in order to figure out what you should do in a case like that. You just correct your steering just a little bit and put yourself more comfortably in your lane. But if you don't, if you pretend like you don't know what the rumble strip means, and you get two wheels on the other side of it, or four wheels on the other side of it, now you're off in the grass a little bit, and then you're off in the weeds or the mud or off the bridge or whatever. It becomes less and less convenient the further off the road you get. Have you noticed? You can get a new body anytime you want one. It's just time consuming. It's time consuming. It takes a long time to grow up and for your parents to let you do what you want to do, in other words. And so the more awareness you have about this guidance, this rumble strip, then the sooner you can correct your vision, your version of life that you are creating. And the more aware you are of that rumble strip, and the sooner that you make some corrective action or thought, then the less likely it is to get worse and worse and worse and worse. So that's really what we are wanting to offer to you, is that by downplaying the things that aren't working while you are upplaying the things that are working, not only do you practice vibrations that enhance your own point of attraction, but you become more aware in those moments when you're not doing it. Sensitivity to emotion is your greatest strength, because when you are aware that something is out of whack emotionally, then you don't have to get into the stronger out of whackness of a sore back or a headache or a. The more aware you are of the early stages of resistance, then the easier it is to hold yourself in that place of greater intuitiveness and greater guidance. But it doesn't matter, because the fact of it is, you can bring yourself back from any resistance. You can leave any resistance on your trail behind you. We offered an analogy the other day, and the audience didn't really hear it in the way we intended, so we're going to offer it to you and see if you're smarter. No. It's not like that at all. We are wanting you to feel something in this analogy that will serve you. You know how when you're going down a trail, have you ever walked a long trail? There are some long trails in California forests, some trails that go for hundreds of miles, really. Have you ever hiked one of those trails, or any trail, and noticed that things that you see along your trail, like a badger or a snake or a rotten tree, that those things don't follow you 20 or 30 or 40 miles down your trail? They just don't. You see them and you just keep moving on. But so often on the trail of your life experience, you see a snake, and then you take the fear of that snake every step forward for the rest of your life experience. I once saw a snake, and therefore I'm watching for snakes everywhere I go. Or I once saw a traffic accident, and now I'm afraid of traffic. And so we're just encouraging you to understand that your trail is ever ongoing, and that as you do a little more pre-paving by stepping back from the details and acknowledging the things that we've talked about just now, like this higher guidance that is aware of you, then your impulses to go and stay will be supreme. It's our promise to you that snake doesn't want to meet up with you any more than you want to meet up with that snake. And the snake is really intuitive, really intuitive. So when you are as intuitive of the snake, the only ones of you who will meet up with the snake are those who are sincerely interested in the natural nature of the snake, and a snake who is sincerely interested in the natural nature of you. And those rendezvous happen all the time. A snake will stretch out, show itself to you, roll over so that you can see the other side on occasion, even stand up and look you right in the eye. In other words, there are many experiences that you can have with many other creatures and many other humans, but all of them are coming in response to what you've got going on vibrationally. So we are appreciating this beginning question. It's an important one. And we want to remind you that you have much more control over your experience than you know. But if you will try not to control things that are not happening in your now, then every one of your nows will go better. You see what we're getting at?
Yes.
Don't worry about what's going to happen when you get in traffic. Just envision that traffic's going to go well for you. And if you do that often enough, your intuition about what to do about it, your timing will be different. Your intuitiveness about which way to go will be different. So now we want to go back to your beginning of this. What were you talking about that was bothering you in traffic? What specifically was on your mind? Were you having encounters with other drivers? Is your car breaking down on a regular basis? Do you run into a lot of things?
It's encounters with other drivers. I live in Los Angeles
Snakes?
area. And I live in a nice part where drivers are courteous, but then if I have to go to a doctor's appointment, that's more Beverly Hills, and drivers start to get aggressive and cut you off. And I find I get shocked with the change in the dynamic. And I caught myself yelling at somebody just the other day, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, why was I doing that?
You can't get there from there. You can't get from this belief to your doctor in Beverly Hills without a negative encounter, because your belief will not allow it. So your inner being calls you into an encounter, and what do you say about this encounter now? I can't believe that. It actually went so far that I took out a gun and I shot him dead. Oh no, it didn't go that far, did it? No. It didn't go that far. Because then we'd be having a whole other discussion. But it could go that far. It has gone that far with some.
Right.
You had the encounter, and now, because of that contrasting experience, what did you put into your vortex that you had not put there before? What new intention did you set forth in a more specific, more directed, more intense way than ever before?
You mean afterwards?
You just held your head just now. I can't believe I actually yelled at someone.
As soon as it happened.
But we're asking you, so what intention was focused within you when you realized that you were shouting at someone? What intention went into the vortex? I'd like to have more control of myself. I'd like to be in a better vibrational place. I'd like to have more vibrational resiliency. I'd like to have better sea legs. I'd like to be able to assess situations. I'd like to be able to better assess the situation. I would like to feel good under all conditions. I would like to live more unconditional life experience. Aren't all of those things part of that sifting process that you came to? And so is that a bad thing that you've come to that greater clarity, or is that a good thing that you've come to that greater clarity?
It's a good thing.
And is it possible that your inner being could have seen that as the path of least resistance long term for you?
Yes.
Because you're pretty arrogant, you know. We're just playing with you. But the things that you were saying about those people in Beverly Hills, not all of them are like that. Just the ones you meet up with because you think that's how they are. So your inner being says, not giving you a life lesson, not giving you a lesson. The crowd sort of groaned when we play with you in that way. Yeah. Not punishing you or slapping your hand in any way. Just giving you some experience so that you can further identify, so that you can further prepave what you are wanting. Esther would say from time to time, people are so mean. And Jerry would say, Every time she said that, not all of them. Or people just don't think about what they're doing. Not all of them. The more you say those things, the more you identify a vibration that causes the universe to only be able to give you those things, because your whole trail, your whole path is dotted with those beliefs. So almost everywhere you go, some of those beliefs have to manifest in your experience, you see. So your inner being will bring you along. And once you find yourself in a pattern of things where a whole bunch of things are showing themselves to you, it's a good time for you to say, oh, I get it. I get it. I am the common denominator here. I'm everywhere I go. Because while those things along the trail are not usually following you on your walking path, those things along your trail do follow you on your vibrational path. Because if something's bothering you today, it's going to go with you everywhere you go. And so we think it's a wonderful thing when experiences can cause you to say, wait a minute, this is not who I am. I don't yell at people. I don't understand what that person is living. I don't know what's going on in the tension of their life experience, but I do know what's going on in my life, and I do know that I have the ability to have the shock absorbers to behave in the way that, or more importantly than behaving, to feel a way that causes me to behave in the way that I really am wanting to behave. It's not about your behavior. It's about what came before your behavior. And what came before your behavior are the thoughts and feelings and vibrations over which you have more control than you often exercise. And you are right. This analogy has been wonderful in so many ways. Because if you are waiting until you're shouting at someone, well, the shouting has already happened. And sometimes the repercussions of that can be unpleasant in the moment too. Or the accident has already happened, and then there are more repercussions. That's what we're talking about, the rumble strip. But the more you are aware of the way you are feeling, this is the thing that we want you to hear above all other things. Every time you feel an outburst of negative emotion, whether you verbalize it or not, every time you feel an outburst of negative emotion, you have clarified your vortex. Your vortex has now become something more than it was before. And now your inner being has more information to guide you and inspire you more to who you want to be, you see. And there comes a time when you bless all those rascals along your trail who prodded you into a clearer awareness of who you are and how you want to feel and who you want to be and how you want to live. Because life is just a series of those experiences, you see. And you can get into that sweet spot where you can, we're not kidding you, just move from one nice experience to another, to another, to another, to another, to another. And when that happens, it does emphasize your sense of worthiness. It does. It could not help it. But it isn't your worthiness that we want you to feel the amplification of. It's your deliberateness. It's your ability to guide yourself into thoughts and feelings that allow the universe to treat you the way you deserve and desire to be treated. You want to say to anybody who displeases you, who misunderstands you, or who even deliberately or indeliberately abuses you in some way, you want to, in your mind, say to all of them, I know that this is not really about me, it's about you. But the reason that you and I are having this experience together is because apparently I've got some stuff that I'm matching up with stuff you've got matching up. And thank you for the clarification. Because now I've got that clarification, I'll do more pre-paving. I'll do more clearing of my mind. I'll do more of putting ease in my own experience. I'll do more of counting my blessings and looking for positive aspects. I'll do more of tuning my vibration to a more consistent frequency. I will tune you out of my experience because I have seen you in my experience. And I thank you for showing up and showing me what I clearly have going on, because I trust the law of attraction is not making any mistakes. Ever. Helpful?
Very.